Hi, this is Between Two Drinks. I'm Kevin York.
And I am Kayla Gonzalez. Good to see you guys again.
Good to see you, Kayla. I'm glad to not be flying solo again.
Don't worry, just for the one time, hopefully.
I was able to discover the uncomfortable awkwardness of those radio people who have to host their own show and talk for 3 hours straight.
Awkward silence got the best of you here and there, maybe.
Yeah. Well, now,
That's all right.
now
I'm
we're
back
back
to help you out.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So what are you drinking today?
Today I am drinking a Gose from Rising Tide Brewery, which is in Portland, Maine. Decided to try the Gose this week. It's a style that not a lot of people are familiar with. It was actually a style that started in Germany and almost disappeared in the 50s after World War II. People just stopped brewing it. But it's kind of had a resurgence as of late, especially here in the States. There are a couple of big breweries that have done more national distribution with it. Anderson Valley out of California has like a blood orange Gose that I started seeing last year. And I've seen a few other breweries get into that. Sierra Nevada has a fairly new one that I think January of this year they started national distribution with. So Goses are made traditionally with coriander and salt, so it's got a little bit of a bite to it. So this is one that I've never had before. I've actually never had anything from Rising Tide, but I've heard of them before, so we'll see how it is.
That sounds good. I've actually heard of blood orange popping up in just random beverages here and there around the area. I'm in Austin right now, and I just had a blood orange and honey beer. I think it was I want to say it was an amber ale, but it was pretty good.
Nice.
So I agree with you on that. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm having a Convict Hill Oatmeal Stout. It's actually from Austin. I just recently did like a 34-hour drive these last, I guess, 5 days. It's a temporary move to Austin for me for the next about 6 months. So I'm really excited to try all the new things out, all the new beverages and the sites. So that's why I thought I'd give this one a go this time around.
Nice.
Pretty delicious.
Yeah. The Rising Tide Gose is good too. It's got the saltiness that I expected, kind of a little bit of a citrus taste, but it's nice. It's a good beer.
Delicious. Well, cheers.
Yeah, cheers to you.
Awesome. So what are we discussing today?
Well, this week I thought we'd change things up a little bit. I think I had a tendency to get a little long-winded on some of the topics the past couple of weeks, so I thought we could experiment with some hot takes this week. Just a few topics that we talk about quickly, just kind of things that are on each of our mind before we dive into what I'll call the feature discussion, which is going to be about the NFL selling its streaming rights to Twitter. So the first hot take I have here, the first one I've got here is a show I've been watching this season on Showtime called The Circus. Have you heard of that?
I haven't.
So it's kind of a political documentary. What it does is follow around all the candidates who are running for president this year. It's from a couple of guys at Bloomberg News, Mark Halperin and John Heilman. What I find interesting about it is it's kind of a different way of reporting on the election, where they're not putting as much like editorial context around their thoughts. Rather, they're doing a lot of interviews with the candidates and some of the staff of the candidates to really bring the news to you straight from them. So it's less kind of like some of the talking heads on MSNBC or CNN or Fox News. It's less of them giving their opinion and kind of pushing the candidates down a specific agenda that they have for the interview, and more just kind of transparency into the candidates and their lives as they're campaigning. So what I like about it is it's kind of a different way of doing that traditional political reporting. And I think this layer of transparency and the fact that it's on Showtime might be bringing some new viewers to kind of the whole political campaign and following it through the news than what normally is. And I'm guessing it's reaching people who don't particularly care for those talking heads on the cable news networks that I mentioned. But it's a good show. I would encourage you to give it a try.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. Sad to say, I don't follow, the news quite as much as I should, or I would like to. But I think, nowadays it's really about giving that really good story, and something like that I think would appeal to me. So I'll definitely give it a try. When does it play?
Sunday nights. I think it's at 8:30. I watched it on DVR, so I'm not sure of the time, but I think it's 8:30.
Of course. That's all we have time for nowadays, right? DVR.
Yeah, and nobody wants commercials, which not good for advertising, but it is what it is.
That's what's going on. Well, I actually wanted to bring up something that I just recently heard about. Instagram, they had an update on their ad overlay. So basically the update pulls in the brand's Facebook page name, as well as the display or destination website URL that you as a brand select when you set up your ad. And I think the whole reasoning behind this was to really provide the Instagram community with richer content, and to have the advertisers increase their performance across the objectives that they're trying to get across. So I think with this will really give the brands this overlay will give the brands users intent to go off-site, meaning ensuring high quality traffic for the website, for their mobile app, for the app store, bringing the users to the brand easier, and it'll also make the users more engaged with their brand. So I think it's really interesting, especially for me when I look at my Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest even, we want to find the easiest route to get to the information you're looking for. So I think that gives it a little more incentive for the user to get to that brand. Yeah,
it seems like it's kind of a being more explicit about the expectation for the users when they click on that, and also for the brands to kind of be more explicit about providing that expectation to the users. This is what's going to happen. You're going to go off site.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I love Instagram, so this is a cool little addition, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, the next hot take I've got is a marketing stunt from the Tourism Bureau in Sweden. So Sweden is now the first country to have its own phone number. They set up their own phone number. You dial it and you talk to somebody in Sweden. Now, the interesting thing about this, it's kind of unique, but what makes it even more unique is they have a bunch of different people who will be receiving these calls, and none of these people have been trained. They don't have talking points. They just signed up, and they become one of the people to receive a call. So they could be talking to somebody from the US, Japan, France, wherever, and it's really wherever they want to take the conversation or the caller wants to. It's kind of bizarre in this sense that there's nothing for them to refer to. They haven't been trained on what to say. Now Sweden says that this was intentional to kind of give this transparent view of what Sweden really is, and show people the freedoms that people in Sweden have, which I get. But I think there's downside too, where you don't know what these people are saying. Now, Sweden's done this before with a Twitter account that they opened up for anyone in Sweden to contribute to. And as you might guess, there were some people who kind of abused that privilege and put some provocative things on that Twitter feed. But they didn't pull it down. They let it go. And I guess they've seen some success from it, or enough that they would experiment with this phone number idea. So kind of interesting.
That's so interesting. Yeah. Maybe I should give it a call.
Yeah.
Call Sweden.
So I read that there was a marketing reporter who called it just to see what it was. And he starts talking to the guy who answered, and turns out the guy who answered is also a reporter in Sweden. He's like the AP bureau chief there. And he only signed up so that he could write a story about it. And that was the same reason the marketing guy signed up. So you had two reporters talking to each other that were only doing it to kind of report on what the experience was like.
That's awesome. Well, feeding into the next topic here, I did see another update recently for social media platforms. Facebook created their own live streaming app for their mobile app. So it's a big competitor to Google's YouTube and Twitter's Periscope streaming apps that are already, I think Periscope's been around for about a year now. So it also offers recorded clips, and it does the group video, the live group video, where you can users can comment and do emojis to express what they think about it. And you know, I think the other interesting portion of it is that news publishers are going to be paid to stream video via this Facebook Hub now, and not on their own website. So that's really interesting, and I'm wondering, how many people are actually going to participate in this kind of thing? Because, if you're working for a publication already, will that even be allowed? That's the first thing that crossed my mind when I heard about it. But as for brands, I think that means it's a new avenue to market and be even more transparent for their audience. So, I think it can go either way, in my opinion.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the pickup of live compared to the YouTube live streaming that we're using here right now for this, or Periscope as well on Twitter. The emojis addition seems a little bit cheesy to me, but I guess they're trying to, or think they're reaching a younger audience, but I'm not sure the younger audience will leave Periscope especially to really take on this. I'm curious what some of the brand implications are. I get it for publishers. It's a way to do kind of some live reporting like you. I don't know if they'll leave, how many will be persuaded to leave their website for housing that content. But it seems like it could be something for brands, which may not have that built-in current viewership on their site already, to experiment with this, especially younger brands, startup brands.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And if it's startup brands that are trying to reach a younger audience, those emojis might work perfectly. Maybe. You never know.
All right, so that's enough of our hot takes for now, so we don't drag this on for too long and we keep people's attention. So the featured discussion for this week is about Twitter and the NFL, and the NFL's new contract that stipulates that Twitter can now live stream 10 regular season games during the year. So these will be Thursday night games, and this live streaming will complement the traditional broadcasting that's done on NBC and CBS. I guess those two broadcast networks are splitting. They each get 5 games during the year, 5 Thursday night games. NFL Network gets all 10 of the games, and then Twitter has them. So as viewers, we now have the option to watch a game on the NFL Network, NBC or CBS, or Twitter.
Yeah, which I think personally is amazing. It's also kind of shocking, the fact that it's going for free. Free live viewing. For NFL games, it's just. I guess it's not so different from watching it on a regular TV network. But if you're going to stream it via like a mobile app or something, I think typically you have to log in, or whatever the case may be, that some package you've already previously paid for.
Yeah, I'm curious how this is going to work. Number one, what feed is Twitter going to get in terms of where is the play-by-play and the color commentary going to come from? Is it going to be the NFL Network? Is it going to be NBC, CBS? Are they going to have their own? Which I think would be pretty interesting if they announced had their own announcing team for this new streaming service, rather than just take from what's done on one of the other networks.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think it's going to be kind of cool too, because for the fact that it's on the Twitter platform, I think it's so ideal, because Twitter is a platform that moves very quickly in conversation. So that's going to be the perfect avenue to have, nowadays viewers always have like that second screen, that they're always talking to somebody about what's going on in the game. And here it's already there. They're watching it on Twitter. They're going to comment on it right then and there. So I think that's a really awesome opportunity to, experiment with. Yeah,
that's one of the other things I'm excited to see. What is that interface going to look like? Because I think there are a lot of opportunities there, because like you say, people are using 2 screens now. They're on their tablet or their phone, looking at what people are saying. Probably for football games, what happens more often is they're checking their fantasy team stats while watching the game. So how is Twitter really going to bring those two things together as far as the traditional Twitter feed and now this broadcast? Can we see both at the same time? Will it be somehow integrated in that fashion? If they're able to do that, I think that would be really smart. I think that is kind of the way to go, and I'm sure that that's probably one of the reasons the NFL picked them, because what I've read is Twitter didn't have the highest bid, but they were chosen over Facebook, Amazon, Google, a few other services. But what was the reason they picked Twitter? I think it's because they could have potentially this technology capability to bring the two together.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm also curious about the advertising from it. I mean, the NFL is always out for money, and they want to get a feed of that advertising money that traditionally is spent on NBC, CBS, Fox on Sundays. Are they going to get a piece of some of Twitter's advertising? Is Twitter going to advertise in-game? I would assume they would have to, because there are built-in TV commercial breaks to the games.
Oh, yeah.
How is that going to work? What are the opportunities there? I guess that's really kind of what this all leads to. What are the opportunities for brands? Because I think there are advertising opportunities, which are, I'll call semi-traditional, but then I think there are additional ones as far as bringing this integration together of the game streaming and your Twitter feed. What are the opportunities there? And also, what are the organic opportunities? What can brands do that aren't paying Twitter to get into some of these opportunities? What can you do organically on your own?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that'll be a really good avenue for brands to jump in on Twitter and just join the conversation. I mean, that's what the whole platform is about anyway. So that's going to be a big opportunity for brands that have something to say, or even if they don't have anything to do with football, they could still comment on it and say, "Oh, we're watching it too,"
Right. I think that's where a potential marketing mistake could come in also, though, because I think if you're a brand that doesn't necessarily have a direct tie to football or the football audience, you have to be careful about how you force your way in there. And I'm sure there are going to be a lot of brands that do it, but all the time we see brands that force their way into some cultural event as an opportunity and try to use it for their own marketing purposes. And a lot of times they just look ridiculous because there isn't that tie. Now, for brands that do have a natural tie to football, athletics, the demographics that watch football, which, I mean, increasingly are becoming every demographic. But if you have a natural tie, it's a great opportunity. If you don't, I think brands need to be careful and kind of see what happens there, because there's a potential for that Twitter feed to just get so saturated with stuff and off-topic stuff that it takes away from the opportunities that were there for brands who really do have something to say.
That's true. It's definitely important to make sure that what you're saying is the right thing for your brand, first of all. So that makes a good point, definitely.
Yeah, it's that piece of content that we always talk about, where we talk about the brand, the audience, and then the context. I think that's where the context comes in for this particular content opportunity.
Definitely.
The one other thing that I'm interested in here is if it doesn't become oversaturated with brands and they figure out a way to leave it for fans just talking to each other, are we going to see a rise in what I'll call citizen commentators? There are a lot of people who sit at home and they watch these games, and I hear this all the time with my family, my friends. Things are said by people watching the game at home with me, by me, someone else, father-in-law, father, before the announcers say it on TV. And what I keep hearing from people who are big sports fans is that a lot of these football commentators aren't showing any kind of advanced knowledge of the game beyond what a dedicated fan has now. So is this going to be something where we see that commentary coming through in a Twitter feed right next to the game, and something is said before Troy Aikman can say it, or before Chris Collinsworth can say it, and now are some of these is it going to build brands for some of these people where they're like, hey, this John Smith character in Kansas, he knows his stuff, and he's saying everything before Collinsworth can say it, and he's giving deeper analysis into it too. It'll be interesting to see if it kind of changes the broadcasting of the games.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't even think that it's a matter of if. I think it's when. I think that's definitely something that will happen, because I mean, look at, there's already citizen journalists out there. So, you know, I think that's just like one step into being a new influencer in a different arena, really.
Yeah, could be an opportunity to carve something out. Maybe there'll be a third person added to the booth now. You've got the play-by-play, the color commentary guy who's a former player or coach, and then you've got the citizen commentator who gives the average show perspective.
There you go. Maybe that's your next shot. You can step in there. Awesome. Well, I'm excited for football season already. Even though I'm not much of a sports person, as I told you before, but I do like to watch it.
Well, you're in Texas now, so you have to watch it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. Definitely. It'd be a shame if I didn't.
Yep. Well, I think that's all we've got for this week.
Awesome. Well, it was good to see you again via Between Two Drinks, Kevin. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers to you.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.